A top story, what's being talked about world over. Lance Armstrong has admitted his 7 Tour de France titles were fueled by an array of drugs, reversing years of denials in a televised interview with Oprah Winfrey that was broadcast on Thursday. Now, attempting to explain his drug-tainted past, Armstrong sat down with Winfrey for his first interview since being stripped last year of his record 7 tour titles and was banned from sports for life.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
Yes or no? Was one of those banned substances EPO?
Yes.
In your opinion, was it humanly possible to win the Tour de France without doping 7 times in a row?
Not in my opinion.
So Armstrong admitted to his entire life being a lie. This story was so perfect for so long, he said. You overcome the disease, you win the Tour de France 7 times, you have a happy marriage, you have children. I mean, it's just this mythic, perfect story, Armstrong said, and it wasn't true. So in an opening series of yes or no questions, Armstrong admitted using blood-boosting EPO, blood doping transfusions, and testosterone or human growth hormone. Armstrong told Winfrey he didn't believe it was possible to win the Tour in the years he raced without doping and challenged the characterization of the doping program on his US Postal Service team as the most sophisticated ever. He said he did not feel he was cheating at the time and viewed it as a level playing field and did not fear getting caught, but now he has also accepted that all the fault and blame should lie with him, that he was a bully who turned on people he did not like. He said his cancer fight in the mid-1990s gave him win-at-all-costs attitude, and he would now cooperate with official inquiries into doping in cycling. The USADA, though, is not too impressed with Armstrong's confessions. They said that the disgraced cyclist should come out and testify to the full details if he's really serious about coming out clean.
Qui aurait pu imaginer il y a quelques semaines encore que Lance Armstrong avouerait publiquement qu'il s'est dopé, qu'il avouerait publiquement qu'il a triché? Personne. Maintenant, pour le reste, vous comprendrez aisément que je souhaite entendre avant ce qu'il dit, puisque je ne sais pas plus que vous ce qu'il va précisément dire.
It was a big shock because Lance Armstrong is one of the inspirational, sporting icons, and suddenly we come to know that it is because of drugs and performance-enhancing drugs. So it has become, it's a shock, and it should not be done by any sports person as such. And then the whole meaning of sports is destroyed. I think the whole sport is being destroyed by Lance Armstrong. He's also killed other sports persons also by, taking in performance-enhancing drugs and spoiling other people who have participated in a genuine manner. There have been a lot of denials, and there are a lot of the testing standards need to become better, and people need to participate in a genuine manner.
All right, joining us now is our sports editor, Gaurav Gala from the newsroom, also joining us here in the studio, Kunal Pradhan, who's the deputy editor of India Today. Kunal, let me come to you first. We've heard it from the horse's mouth. He's lived a life for so many years. World may be shocked still because he is hero worshipped world over. What happens here on first thing? Does he face legal cases?
See, there are a lot of things that can happen. He can lose a lot of money, and he could look at, it depends on how the authorities take up the matter. He could look at, number of things. There could be penal action. There could be a lot of stuff. I think the important thing right now is how this is going to affect the world of dope testing. See, the big thing that was in Lance Armstrong's favor was the fact that, while there were representations being made by his teammates, by, his masseur, his trainers, that he had indulged in doping, he had never tested positive, right? So the big thing in his favor was, there was this big debate on how do you deal with actual results of dope tests versus, physical representation or verbal representation by people who are saying that a person is doped.
The testimonies, you mean?
Testimonies, yeah, verbal testimonies. So now the basic problem is that, if you start taking testimonies as the key, as has happened in this case, Travis Tigert and his entire team went on this range of testimonies that they had saying that, he had doped. But then what is the locus standi of the physical tests that happen all the year round? Tomorrow there could be a person who has never tested positive, but 5 people stand up and say that we saw that he took drugs, So does he become a drug cheat? So I think that this is the most important question that's come out. There were people who've been supporting Lance Armstrong, and I've actually been one of them. And the reason what we've been saying, there's a wonderful piece today by a journalist called Rick Riley, who had supported Armstrong right through for 10 years, and he says that the reason why they were all supporting him was just this, that there are physical tests. There is supposed to be a sophisticated system that tests people for drugs. He hasn't been tested by just one authority. He was tested the world over by, hundreds of times in different countries. If it is so easy to beat the drug test, then what is the importance of it? And then do we have to relook and start doing retrospective testing for everybody?
Right. So what does it actually do, his case? What does it do as far as cleanup in the sport is concerned? Because performance-enhancing drugs is a reality in almost all kind of sports. And unless you're caught, people will never find out. In Lance Armstrong's case, you're saying there were testimonies from people who had worked very closely with him. Yeah. But physical tests, as far as they're concerned, he was clean. He was clean, yeah. So, see, basically, I think, Lance Armstrong was in any case one of the greatest sports stories of our times. Now, it has probably become the largest sports story in, perhaps half a century, because, it's just something like this, of this magnitude, this man coming from cancer, winning 7 titles. It's an incredible story. It's just a staggering story. And, see the way things had gone over the last 2-3 months, there were not too many people who believed that he was clean. It had become pretty clear that, he had taken this stand that I am not going to say anything about this. You can call me what you want. I'm tired. I've defended myself enough. But the way, the circumstances had stacked up, not too many people believed that he was clean. Still, today is significant because there was this last ray of hope that, he's just, taking the moral high ground, perhaps. And it's this physical testing debate that really stood in his favor. And, now that he's come out to say it, to perhaps, save his own brand image. He's lost out on his cancer, charity. He's left Live Strong. He's been tainted. His Tour de France titles have been taken away. Stripped off his titles. But see with Lance Armstrong, there's again always this thing. This man has raised $500 million for cancer. Right. And now, Kunal, I just ask you to hold your thought, because as we talk about Lance Armstrong's mea culpa, let's in fact quickly listen into what Lance Armstrong had to tell Oprah Winfrey.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
Yes or no? Was one of those banned substances EPO?
Yes.
Did you ever blood dope or use blood transfusions to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
Did you ever use any other banned substances like testosterone, cortisone, or human growth hormone?
Yes.
Yes or no? In all 7 of your Tour de France victories, did you ever take banned substances or blood dope?
Yes.
In your opinion, was it humanly possible to win the Tour de France without doping 7 times in a row?
And he broke 1 million hearts when he said that. Kunal Pradhan still with us. Kunal, I also want to take you through some of the other answers of Armstrong. When he was asked, did it feel wrong? He said no. Did you feel bad about it? He said no. Did you feel in any way that you were cheating? He said no. So is the guy actually feeling guilty of being a liar?
See, the reason why he's saying all this is because it's been widely held that the world of cycling, especially tour cycling, Tour de France, Tour Italia, has been rife with doping. At that time, Lance Armstrong, which he said in the interview, thought that it was all part of level playing field, that he could not have possibly won because everybody else was doping as well. Now it's just because, he was the victor and he was so high profile that he got caught. But the most interesting thing, Ruchika, is that he has agreed to taking every single drug that she's asked him about. EPO, blood transfusions, the works. What sort of doping system did they have that nothing of this got caught? It wasn't this one mystery drug that his team had sort of cracked, that because of which they weren't getting caught.
Right.
He said that he took every single thing that she's asked him that he took, and still he didn't get caught. So, it's really significant. We can look at it as the Lance Armstrong story and, what it's done to him, how it's brought down perhaps the greatest,
sporting
athlete, icon of our times.
True.
I feel really bad for Rick Riley, whose piece, everybody must read about how he lied to him. He's written 2 books with a senior Washington Post journalist, who's put, and wonderful books,
Let me quickly bring in Gaurav Gala, sports editor here. Gaurav, In a way, Lance Armstrong's story and the confession that's come, doesn't it actually show the obsession to win? He's lived a lie all through his life. He's now coming out with this confession, but it also in a way reflects the obsession to win, the obsession to be the number one all through and do what never has been achieved before.
Absolutely, and that's something that he said in that interview to Oprah Winfrey as well, Ruchika, that look, I wanted to win at all costs, and like Kunal was saying, he thought it was a level playing field given the fact that he felt everybody else was doping at the time during the mid-2000s when he was racing and winning all those Tour de France titles. But the bigger question, Ruchika, here is about cycling in general, tour cycling in general. Like Kunal raised the point about what sort of practices do they have in place, what sort of SOPs do they have in place when it comes to testing, because Lance Armstrong is a man who possibly has been tested over 500 times in and out of competition, and to have never tested positive, that just goes to show that the systems in place, the SOPs in place as far as drug testing is concerned in cycling, there is a big problem there, and I think that is the larger issue as far as cycling is concerned. Right. As far as Lance Armstrong is concerned, of course, there are various issues, the lawsuits that are now likely to come, because let's not forget, here's a man in Lance Armstrong who has sued everybody who has questioned him, who has questioned his integrity, and who has come out and leveled allegations against him that, look, he doped. So Lance Armstrong has sued all of those people in the past. Now those people will want their own pound of flesh.